Bob Buchanan on the history of Fox River paper. Bob needs no introduction, which is good because I don't have a bio of him. He's going to start with his own bio. Robert, come forward.
I was born in Appleton, Wisconsin on May 13th, 1939. 40. You got it. I was sent away to high school, to a military school, because I was not a good behavior risk. Came back to Lawrence, where I met my wife, Bonnie. We were married after our junior year. Our first child was not born for almost 3 years, I want to point out. Then on to business school at Dartmouth and back joining Fox River Paper Company. How many people here have worked for Fox River? All right, here's the deal. If I make a mistake, don't laugh, okay? A lot of this is memory and stuff that hopefully some of you will be interested in. So it's a pleasure to be here. Okay. Okay? Good. How did we get here? What brought the family, essentially, to Appleton? Well, the family moved from Scotland, of course, ended up working at a company called Cheney Biglow in the East Coast, and the whole operation was how to make four-denier wires for the paper industry. That's what drew them. And the reason Appleton got on the radar, what am I doing? No, wrong. Appleton became on the schedule of interest because of the movement of the paper industry. So, two families, essentially the Buchanans and the Weisenborns, which ended up being the Purdy's, if you will, came to Appleton and started Appleton Wire Works, four-denier wires for the paper industry. That facility that they started in is still in operation as an apartment building on Law Street. If I said go by that, how many would know where it is? Ah, yes, Appleton natives, that's wonderful. The company was successful. It was successful because of wonderful employees in an industry that was growing and ownership that cared about your employees. So what happened was Dad said, we've got to invest in Appleton. We want it to be a better place than the already good place it is. So he said, we're going to buy something. And at that point, it was Appleton Wire, and immediately picked up a company called Tuttle Press, which is, the building is still there at least, and then Fox River Paper Company. Fox River was purchased in 1961, 71, 81, 91, 01, 21. So it's been part of the family for a long time. Are we okay? Hey!
Yeah, you can.
Want to try it? Okay.
Yeah, get it towards here.
So anyway, Fox River was a going concern when we bought it in 1961, or when Dad bought it in 1961. He wanted to deploy, as I said, resources that were available to him. Fox River immediately started to make acquisitions in the fine paper, cotton fiber paper, calendar roll filling. How many people know what calendar roll filling is? Yes. out of the Appleton mill. So immediately, or in short order, we bought Howard Paper Company, which is down in Ohio, Paper Plains, Susan Crane, Simpson. In 22 years, the company made 32 transactions, buying and selling companies. It was a time when there were opportunities, and Dad and the family took advantage of them. I joined the company in 1967 after graduating from Lawrence, as I said, going to business school, and I had accepted a job at Ford Motor Company. I'd always loved cars. I thought, why not get involved? And I thought to myself, after I spend a couple years at Ford, we'll buy a dealership. Well, what happened was Dad called. And Dad said, we have this company, and it's a family company, and we want you to be part of the family. I said, yes, sir. And Bonnie agreed. So back to Appleton we came. Fox River, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, really, I would term it a going concern, one where employees made it what it is. We had something new to me, a strong union relationship, and we made it work. I don't think we had a strike. Threatens, but no strike in the time that we owned the company, which I think is a pretty spectacular effort or record, I guess. Fox River had the mill, the Tallulah mill, which was right on the river, of course, and then across the river, there were really 3 other mills, and eventually those we shut down and concentrated everything on Tallulah, which was a wonderful strategy. It worked great. So I want to go back and to the family business aspect of this. Scotland, I mentioned, was the beginning, and my great-grandfather immigrated, a U.S. opportunity, which is, I'm kind of repeating myself, but they settled in Massachusetts. Then there was this conversation at Cheney Biglow, and they heard this wonderful opportunity in Wisconsin, and off they came. William, initially it was Appleton Wire that they bought, and then moved to Fox River Paper Company, which is what's going on, what we're going to talk about tonight. In 1883, Fox River started. It incorporated with 6 owners. In 1887, they dropped flour from the name. It was originally Fox River Paper Company, Paper and Flour Company. In 1913, Mr. Wing took control of the company and continued that actually until almost 1938. From 38 until 54, a family named Oberwieser was in charge. 1954 to 1961, Roberts owned it, and our corporation, Outagamie Corporation, notice the name, Outagamie Corporation, bought it in 1961. So that's kind of the beginning of it. It's been an interesting run, is the way I would put it. The business, the premium business, excellent. The Tallulah mill is the one we're talking about. and that's still there. Valley Iron is that is down, and part of that was enhanced with finishing operations. But I think that places it for you. Any questions on that location? Okay.
Why was it called a Tallulah Mill? But Tallulah Park is up the hill.
Yeah, but Tallulah was the location, and it was called the Tallulah area, at least what my history book says. And it's, you know, it's a name that sticks, kind of interesting. It works. Okay, and I said we concentrated on Tallulah, and the other mills on the other side of the river, the question is what to do with them. Beautiful buildings, and we were approached by a developer from Madison, and he said, I think we can turn these into apartments. And look what happened. Anybody live in the apartments? Well, some people do. Apparently they're full, so anyway. I would call our investment in Fox River a family success. Currently, there is one family person still working for the company. My sister's daughter is she running the customer service area now?
It's your sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law, yeah, sorry. So the beat goes on. It's kind of great. Anyway, so there's not a lot more I can tell you. The years were good. We were happy to have it. It fit into a pattern of growth that Dad loved, and it was fun to be part of. You never knew what was going to come out of Dad's mouth as far as, why don't we do this, or why don't we do that? So part of it was let's, from my standpoint at least, trying to keep things on a track that I understood, and I think generally we've done that. So, questions, thoughts, input? Yes, sir.
What are they gonna do with the building now? The Tallulah Mill?
I don't know. I haven't heard. Anybody else heard anything? How long has it been shut down?
4 years maybe?
Yeah, I don't know what you do with old paper mills.
Well, they made apartments out of the other
Yeah,
mills, you know.
yeah.
What year was that they closed that down in the finishing part over there?
60, no, it was later than that. I'm not sure. I don't, you know, those dates just kind of slip away from me. Can you believe that? And, yeah,
Why did you stop making paper
where?
at Tallulah?
Well, the company that's got to answer that is Needham Paper Company. They're the ones that made after they purchased Fox River, they made the decision they were going to concentrate in their Needham mill, which, you know, that's home to them, and also their Central Wisconsin mill, which is a whole different scale of manufacturing. So from the standpoint of citizens of Appleton and people who care and ex-employees, it's too bad, but that was the decision.
What kind of paper did you make?
Fine papers, cotton fiber, priming and writing. What?
Use the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cotton fiber, printing and writing grades. We also had technical specialties. Super calendar roll filling was a substantial one and a good market for us. We were a major manufacturer of blueprint. Who can remember blueprint paper? Yeah, well, half of it for a long period of time came out of Appleton. So, yeah,
My son works for the railroad. Did you have a good relationship with the railroads?
The Chicago Northwestern?
Yes.
My father was on the board, so during that period of time, it was great. I think so. I don't think it was a problem at all. You know, what we cared about was getting the switches at the time that we wanted them, and we did that. They did that. It was a good relationship, I think. Why do you ask? It's an interesting question.
My son works for the Canadian National.
Well,
And they have a kind of an adversary relationship with some of their customers for various reasons.
whatever reasons, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it was good, yeah.
You asked how many knew what that super calendaring was, and there was maybe half a dozen who said they knew, but for the 94 of us that didn't raise our hand, can you explain what that is?
Well, I'll try. If somebody's got a better explanation after I finish, let me know. Super calendaring was a process where you took paper and squeezed it between rolls under a lot of pressure to give it a shiny surface. And it was the filling of these rolls that was this paper that we made that was then pressed under a lot of pressure onto a steel shaft that where there was just enough slippage as the paper went through, down, around, this type of thing, 4 or 5 different rolls. It's very effective. And it was also a wonderful business because occasionally the paper broke and ruined a roll, which means they had to buy more filling, which means we had more paper to make. So it was all part of it.
What was the principal use of that pressed paper?
Magazine paper, anything. It was a large percentage of the total printing paper that was made for a long time, actually. Yep.
What was the family involvement with the wire works? Because I remember there were two. One was Appleton Wire Works and one was Wisconsin Wire Works, and they were pretty close next to each other, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Appleton Wire was owned by 2 families, the Buchanan family and the Purdy family. Before that, before Purdy, it was Weisenborn, but it was a 50-50 relationship. Eventually, the Weisenborns wanted to get out of the business, and we bought their interest. The Buchanans did.
So was that in your business dealings at the same time as the paper company?
Yes, yeah.
So you had 2 separate but related activities?
Yeah. I don't want to go into how the whole thing started, but essentially they were both part of the ownership of the 2 families. The 2 families had wonderful relationships. That was never an issue. Yes?
Where did you grow up?
You want the address? I was born in St. Elizabeth's Hospital and lived on the east end of College Avenue. And before that, mother or dad rented a house from Lawrence University on Alton Street, and that's where I spent my young years. Went to Edison, went to Roosevelt, and then I was spun off to a military school because I was a behavioral issue. I recovered.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
Fournier was a foreign company, Swedish. Why did you make their wire? Why would they allow you to make their wire for their paper machines?
Fournier wire is a process. It's a cloth. It's a metal cloth product. That's how paper is formed. So the question is why? I mean, this was made in the United States at that point, so we were selling primarily to a U.S. market. Am I missing your question? Yes.
It was a foreign process, so did you have to?
Oh, I see what you mean.
lease the process? Or?
No. Fournier was we were not violating any arrangements or laws as far as making the product is concerned. There was another wire company, Wisconsin Wire, which was just a competitor of Appleton Wire. But
Were they in Appleton? Appleton, I mean, Wisconsin Wire?
yeah, they were in Appleton.
And where were they located?
Uh, Bonnie, what street is that? Do you know?
Mead, I think.
Oh, I don't remember.
It was there.
Yeah, behind the Appleton paper on Mead, I think it was.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
And they're now Aston Johnson out by the airport.
that's exactly. Good man. Yeah, good. Well, I don't know what else I can tell you.
So when Nita Papers bought you out,
Yep.
did they keep the whole operation going as it was at the time until they cleared out the building, or can you still buy Fox River Paper products by that name?
I don't know whether they maintained the brand name or not. I just don't know. It's been too long. Yes.
Mr. Roberts used to own.
Fox River. That's who we bought it from.
And you bought it from them.
Right. Bill Roberts lived in Neenah.
Yeah.
Right by the bridge, right?
Exactly.
Is this story
Tom?
written down anywhere, sir?
So,
Is this story written down in a book or anything?
no. Not that I know of, anyway. Maybe we're writing one tonight.
You made some decisions about how the water was processed early in your tenure there that turned out to be prophetic. You want to talk about that?
Water?
The water that you used to make the paper, when it went back into the river, it didn't go in raw from your operation.
Oh. Yeah, there was a period of time, to make paper you need water. And the water from the Fox River was not exactly at the clarity level that we needed or anybody needed. So what happens is we took water out of the river, treated it in a settling basin, and then chemically treated it and used that water. The residue from that then initially went right back into the river. Subsequent to that, we developed a processing system, which we did the preliminary processing, and then the rest, everything else went down to the Appleton waste treatment plant. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, but.
In summary?
Somewhat later, there were PCBs in the river that had to be dealt with, but Fox River wasn't involved in the
No.
cleanup because you'd taken care of it before.
Thank you. Forgot about the whole PCB thing. Right. Yes.
Two things. What was your father's name? And secondly, tell us more about the homes on the hill by East College Avenue Bridge. We recently had an inquiry about the one that was taken down that either your brother or father had when they made the bridge, the current East College Avenue Bridge. So tell us, what is his name and what were those houses all about?
My father was William Buchanan. The house that you're talking about, which is still there, was Gustavus Buchanan and Josephine. The house that was taken down at 1003 College Avenue was the house that I grew up in.
Oh.
And Dad came home from a meeting with the mayor, I remember this so distinctly, and he said, "They're taking our house." I said, "Where is it going?" He said, "They're going to build a bridge through it." And he said the alternative was either agree to it or redoing what used to be not the Lost Street Bridge, John Street Bridge at a high level. And that was, he said, the right thing to do is let them have the house. And he promptly moved to Menasha. But he did the right thing. I mean, it was for the city of Appleton. Okay, the house at the end of College Avenue was my grandmother's house. And I played over there as a kid. It was just a wonderful, rambling place. She was a widow living in the house for a long time. But it was, of course, the house is still being used. The family is in it and loves it.
How many rooms does that house
One more than it should. I don't know.
Can you speak to the hydroelectricity use in the plant?
Fox River initially had all of the hydro on Oneida Street. And on the north side of Oneida Street, there's also one small hydro station there. And then connected to the Tallulah Mill is a hydro station, 4 wheels there. That, on an annual basis, supplied about half the electricity that we used. But all of it was sold to Wisconsin Electric, and then we bought it back. So essentially, they, and much better than a paper company trying to run a small hydro plant, took their responsibility for it. I think that was a good decision, actually.
How many people worked at the mill in, say, 1975? Was it dozens, was it hundreds?
Hundreds, 200, I think, between the two mills on each side of the river, finishing and so forth, yeah. And then finishing essentially was moved out when Gilbert bought Fox River. They shut down, as they well should have, our finishing operation and moved out to their new converting facility. And that's still the way, of course the mill is down anyway. But
Because the finishing plant had its own power plant, didn't it? A hydro generator in there?
it just happened to be there,
Yeah.
but we didn't use it directly.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
A personal note, when I was a small boy on John Street in the late 40s, our house backed up to the McClure house on Alton Street.
Yeah, my aunt.
That's your aunt, that's what I was gonna ask you. We were friends with Wendy and Sandy and Mimi, and when we were kids, we were taken to the mansion, I'll call it, because they frequently went there, of course.
See, I never knew it as the mansion house. I knew it as Grandma's house. It was a great place. It still is, I'm sure. Really wonderful. You know, it's been a distinct pleasure and honor to spend some time with you tonight to talk about the high points of a family and the family's relationship is a real honor, and I appreciate it and wish you the best.
Did you all, last question, did you all have any contact with the Kimberleys from Neenah?
Well, of course.
Well, do you have any stories to tell? Or?
Kimberly Clark was the largest customer that Apple and Wire had. So the relationship between Dad and his generation and the senior executives at Kimberly Clark was an important one, very important. So, sure.
You can tell me the story about spoons for the after dinner at Kimberly's.
Bonnie, maybe you should tell it. Anyway.
You want to come up and tell that story,
Well,
Bonnie?
Sure,
No.
come
It
on.
had to do with going there for dinner and driving back home to Appleton. She said to Gus, Josie said to Gus, her husband, "Did you notice the spoons?" And he said, "No," and she said they were ice cream spoons. "I'd like to have some ice cream spoons too." And we now have that set of ice cream spoons.
What's an ice cream spoon?
It's like a regular spoon, except at the tip, it goes kind of straight across, and it has like little forks on it, teeth. So you can put that cut into the ice cream, and the round bit of ice cream will fall into the bowl of the spoon. And then you take it to your mouth. Put it right in your mouth without any struggle.
You know, it's important to me that you know that my life at Fox River Paper Company was exceptional. A wonderful group of people. good equipment, a wonderful customer base, and I couldn't have asked for a better life as far as a company that I respected, and we made a decent return. Never quite enough for some of our hungry shareholders, but no, seriously, it was a good business, and it was fun to be part of.
Cool.
Thank you.